Hey guys, welcome to the Emergence Podcast, a podcast that aims to empower fitness professionals through candid conversations about building sustainable minds, bodies, and businesses. I'm your host, Laura Gunder, ex-professional ballet dancer turned classical Pilates instructor based in New York City, sharing my insights from a decades-long journey navigating an industry with no set path to success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hi, Chaz. How are you? Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
I
Um,
am very well, thank you. So excited to be here with you.
He's in sunny LA. Are you in LA?
I am. I'm in West Hollywood.
Oh my gosh, so jealous. I'm just gonna have you introduce yourself just a bit before we get started.
My name is Chaz Knight. I am a Pilates teacher here in West Hollywood, California. This is where I live. I teach in Beverly Hills. Currently, I am renting space from Tiffany Stacy at Hummingbird Pilates, and it is a joy to be there. I have been teaching Pilates since, my goodness, 2013. And I have gone through several training programs, and it's been a long haul, but I now have my own business. I am fully sufficient. I make a living teaching Pilates. I am transitioning into mentoring new teachers and developing training programs for studios here in California and abroad in Asia.
That's so exciting. Wow, what a amazing journey. So you used to be a professional contemporary dancer, modern dancer.
I studied dance in college, started really late, but through Pilates, I was able to really progress rapidly. And I ended up all the way in New York in the Martha Graham second company, their ensemble company.
That's amazing. That's an amazing company. And I feel like
It
a lot of her movements are Pilates in like the deepest form in a way.
absolutely, well, the focus on breath and spinal mechanics and just a really deep personal understanding of what's happening in your body and making things happen from the inside out rather than kind of maybe more ballet, which looks a little more kind of outside in. So transitioning into Pilates from that kind of background was I wouldn't say easy, but I had a more in-depth understanding of my body going into the work.
Yeah, let's kind of talk about that. I also came from a ballet background, and not only of that, like mind shift, I like what you said about the kind of outside in because I feel like ballet is all about just what it looks like. It doesn't really matter what it feels like if you just get
Hmm.
into the position, make the line, anything in dance. It's like, okay, even if it feels like shit, like it looks good, fine. But how did Pilates kind of help you reframe maybe your relationship to like moving your body in a more, I don't know, nurturing way, but a more respectful way? Because I feel like dance can be very
Absolutely. Well, I started dance and Pilates in Tucson, Arizona, where I'm from. And the Ron Fletcher School, their international headquarters, is in Tucson, Arizona. I was studying Graham-based modern with a legendary teacher choreographer named Norman Walker at the time, and he recommended that I go to the Fletcher School to work on what he called my hideous feet and get my flexibility under control. And I thought, well, I'm already taking classes with you, and I'm weight training. Why do I need to add this other layer in? And I found I found a deeper personal connection to my body. I learned how to kind of manage my wild flexibility and learned that it wasn't just about strong abs or stretching, but really a holistic organization of my body through my breath and really centered around midline awareness. And because of, I mean, his amazing instruction, but because I was able to approach all of my dance training through the lens of my initial Pilates education, I avoided a lot of injury and I was able to progress pretty quickly. In less than, my goodness, 7 years' time, I went from taking my first ballet class to being in the Grand Second Company.
And if you're not a dancer, that's quite incredible. I feel like in terms of professional dance, it's like usually the opposite. A lot of dancers come to Pilates after being in dance for a while through injury or through just trying to preserve their bodies. So what an interesting like flip to sort of go from it from a different angle, which probably, as you said, really helped you because you were able to accelerate at a much faster rate in terms of probably technical awareness, which is really cool. So that's really, really cool. Um, and like when talking about kind of dance, how does your dance background inform how you teach and mentor now? Because for me, I love dance and I wasn't allowed, like I went to the School of American Ballet, which is a very intense training atmosphere. And I can probably say the same for Graham. Like there is an intensity and dynamicism and like kind of what is the word? Uh,
Rigor.
Rigor, that exactly
Yeah.
that is required. And how does that shape how you mentor people right now?
Well, because I came to dance at such a later age, right, comparatively, I was in classes with little kids in the beginning, but also like older people. So I really got to see people at the very beginning of their dance journey, and then the total opposite of that, people who didn't dance their whole lives, but were just coming to movement because they enjoyed it. And because of that now, I think the bulk of the people that we teach in our industry tend to be, yes, we get the rare athlete and dancer every now and then, but more often than not, it's just your everyday person who is coming because of an injury or is coming because they're curious about what Pilates is. So because of how I started, I have a respect for how to introduce movement safely into older bodies, but then also realizing that I don't need to coddle those bodies, that I can safely progress them as long as I give them the tools and I don't dictate kind of what they should be feeling when they should be feeling it. If I can lay the groundwork and I can give them things to think about, right? I need to give them clear images or a clear structure. You can progress a grown adult safely and still change their body. So, because I watched that process happen in myself, I have a respect for how quickly I progress people. I take my time, but I also know that just because someone is older, it doesn't mean that their body still can't change and they can't progress further in the work.
Yeah, I think that's why Pilates is so timeless, is because it's for anybody at any age and it progresses as you
Absolutely.
progress. Um,
Yes.
which is what I love about it. And it's so cool to see clients who go through injuries, go through surgeries, and there's the work feeds them at any point in that journey and is highly adaptable. Um, so I love that you said that. But as a teacher trainer and also a teacher who conducts workshops and things for newer teachers, it can be like very overwhelming when you're
Oh
first
my,
learning
yes.
Pilates. I mean, I think the true like ability to be a truly excellent teacher is to be able to do exactly what you just said, is meet the body where it is, progress them, and be able to have that understanding of push and pull when your client has the ability to push and when you really need to intervene and hold them for a little bit to move them safely to the next level. So when structuring your workshops and working with other teachers, especially specifically new teachers, what are some of the things that you kind of tell them when they're getting overwhelmed in the beginning of their teaching careers?
Um, the first one of the first things, and really this is my push right now, and no matter where I'm working or what type of teacher I'm working with, that getting them out of this idea that it's just lists of exercises and just running people through the reformer order or the mat order, that yes, we all had to memorize those orders. We need to know which exercises are in which level of the system, if that's your particular training background, right? I have Romana's Pilates training. I'm currently training with Enelia Garcia, but also I've gone through the full Fletcher comprehensive program that you need to now put those things down and start to like think critically and look at the body. What does this body really need? And what is in the system that you can use to address that specific need? I have two newer male teachers that I mentor every Sunday. And initially, it was just kind of getting them on the same level when it comes to their technical understanding. And now we're looking at class design, workout design, and why are we making the choices that we're making? Are we leaving things out? And if you leave things out, why is that? Um, so right now, it's all about developing critical thinking skills. How does the workout start and why? Yes, you've got your meat of the workout, maybe your mat, maybe your reformer, but then are you looking at that body while they're moving to see where are the deficiencies, where are they tight, where are they weak, and how can I address that specific need after that kind of meat and potatoes portion of the workout? And that's really what I'm trying to push now. As you're watching them move through the mat or move through a reformer, use your eye, use your critical thinking skills. What is or isn't happening? And how can I use the rest of the system to help progress them past that plateau or address that specific need? And using those orders, yes, as the tools that they are, but now kind of as a metric to see where is this body right now.
Totally. I like that you said that. I will say that from sort of talking to other teachers and also in my own experience, that sometimes newer teachers or I notice a lot of different things. And I've talked about this with my mentor, Katie, as well. And sometimes I feel like she says like triage, but sometimes there's so many things you notice that it can almost be overwhelming to be like, what do I actually address though? Because it's like you see like 4 or 5 things that you're like, well, the hips are tight, your back, like everything is connected, but it's like, where do I go first? And sometimes I feel like it's almost, for me personally, I know I will get so in my head and so stunted and be like, oh my gosh, there's just like so much that I see as wrong, but like, where do I even start? And so for a teacher like that, who tends to like be highly critical and overthinks, but wants to give their client, where do you usually tell them to start?
I
To like,
love I love that you brought that up. We were just having this conversation, and we just this past Sunday we were talking about um, take a step back. Are you seeing? Are you getting caught up in trying to correct symptoms of something, right? Or are you able to step back and look at the cause of the symptom? And okay, maybe you're seeing that they're not articulating through their pelvis, or their C curve is a little wonky in one area, or they're not understanding, right, the difference in their spinal mechanic. Are they really in a long stable spine? Are they in a curve? These things keep coming up and over again. Take a step back, and are these symptoms that all maybe have the same cause? Do you need to focus on stretching that whole posterior chain? Do you need to focus on creating kind of more pelvic stability awareness? What are you seeing? And can you really step back and go, again, right? Am I looking at symptoms, or am I able to really diagnose the cause? And that is a skill that can take years to really develop and hone. But once you're able to do that, you're able to cut through so many things and go, oh, okay, these 10 things I'm seeing really have two main causes. And if I can just pick one of those for today and maybe focus on that for the next few workouts, can me addressing that cause kind of fan out and change those symptoms that I'm seeing?
totally. I feel like that, yes, like you said, it comes with experience and also trial and error. And it's kind of like inputs, like it's a little scientific in a way because certain different bodies will have certain similarities and you can sort of everybody is different, but there are certain things that you'll notice in one body and another body, and like symptom and cause may be similar. So there you can kind of draw from it, like be like, I've seen a body with these certain same things, like perhaps I did X, Y, and Z. Maybe some of these things can also work for this person. Granted, it's not so black and white. That's the thing about working with different bodies. But I think, like you were saying, that can help to expedite the process is kind of having that awareness of what maybe worked for a certain type of body and what maybe didn't work. Sometimes I almost think what didn't work is so much better because you're like, okay, like their back is really tight. Like we need to work on like, yeah, articulation or the C curve or like the push down. We need to open their back. So like what exercises is going to address that versus just like putting them willy nilly on just like different things that don't really address what you're saying, like the symptom.
And see, that's where, that is the authentic, traditional, classical, whatever you want to call it. that's our journey as this lineage of teacher. And that is, can I really step into this next place of looking at it as a system? It's a method, the Pilates method. And that is why it is so important to, I am, like I said, going through Anelia Garcia's full program right now. This will be my third classical certification. And to me, what I see a lot of inexperienced teachers doing is rushing people out of the foundational part of the system, thinking that either their clients getting bored, or even like they get bored, or they think there's not enough in there. And if I was to give any new teacher any bit of advice, it would be sink your teeth into every aspect of that basic system. Look at all of the exercises, look at how they're interconnected, look at the purpose of each exercise. And if you can really get every last bit of juice out of all of those foundational exercises and use them for all they're worth, get your body to be able to get into the full expression of each exercise, right? Out of modifications. Then that's when your body that you're building, that you're crafting, is really going to leave that part of the system or progress through their plateaus. Too often, there's this, you know, and I'm sure social media has a lot to do with it, this idea that like, oh, people want to do more exciting things. They want to do bigger things. They want to vote a photo. They want a video. We need to be steadfast in staying above that and really hold ourselves to a higher standard. People are coming to us because we are experts in our field, and it can be daunting for a new teacher, but we really have to stand our ground and know that this work works. It's been around for over 100 years. It's survived several kind of fads of Pilates coming in and out, happens about every 30 years, but this work has stayed. So we need to be confident in that knowledge. And I see a lot of newer teachers thinking they need to add things, they need to move faster. And it's just, know that this work works. And I think most of us are in this field because we felt the power of this work in our own bodies. So to know that it's healed my body, it's healed the bodies of the teachers around me. I've been teaching for over 13 years now, and I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies transformed through this work. And again, like we said before, it takes time to build that confidence, but know that you know more than the client. Of course, we need to listen to them. We need to listen to their bodies. We have to observe how they're moving, the faces they make. Are they uncomfortable? Like, we need to see and listen, but we need to trust this work.
I love that you said that. And I think one of the key components to trusting the work is to make sure that you understand the work yourself. Because I know a lot of teachers feel that they don't have time to do their own have their own practice. Like, I think that slips away, especially when you're teaching like, 20 plus hours a week, you're doing privates, you're running around the city, like it's exhausting,
It
and
is
your own
exhausting.
practice can get lost in that. But I've realized through my own trial and error that when I have my own like weekly privates, I take classes, like when I am not doing those things, and you don't feel connected to the work, it makes it very hard to translate that to your clients. And there's just something so important. And also for your own, like, just love of the work, regardless of whatever kind of like fitness act, even yoga, I feel like it's a practice, right? And if you can embody that, and it keeps like your love of the work alive, because you're making new discoveries. So I feel like you feel more energized to help your clients make those discoveries. And if you're just kind of clocking in and clocking out, it's not like a desk job, it's like, it's very energy based. And if you can't encompass that and give that back, I think it makes it challenging for not only you and your client.
And exactly, we can allow ourselves to fall out of love with our own personal practice, because then instead of sharing something that we're experiencing intimately, it becomes this description of something secondhand, right? Oh, I'm teaching my intermediate reformer, but I haven't done it in a long time. I mean, you're speaking about how you remember things feeling, or what you've heard from other teachers, but it's really the authenticity of a practicing teacher that has the most power to move people. And people might not remember the names of the exercises. They don't know the order. They don't know the reps or whatever. But when your hands touch someone or when you are describing how the exercise has felt in your body, you're able to translate that in such a way that people are able to connect to. And it's the authenticity of really, here in LA, there's so many different kinds of Pilates. And you can walk into a class and hear a teacher just kind of rattle off a list of exercises, give reps. But then when you walk into a class and you hear a teacher, yes, they're giving cues, but you can tell they're describing what it feels like to them or what they've seen in their clients. And that translates into a way, and it's so much more meaningful. It's much more impactful. And we have to be steadfast in, even if it's your basic reformer, your basic mat, some leg springs here and there, your roll down bar, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, right? And that's the beauty of this work, is if you just have that amount of time, you can move through something that gets your blood going, bends your spine, gets your circulation going. And then when you describe this process to people, it's not you recounting someone that you did at some point. It's, I did this yesterday, and that's what it felt like. And people trust that and they connect to it so much more.
And I think that speaks to the most successful teachers, and at least the teachers that I gravitate towards in terms of like the mentors I'm looking for and the people who I feel like I get the most out of working them with them, is they have that practice. And I haven't ever taken from you, but I can see from social media and from your work you've done with Pilatesology that you really embody that and like encompass the work and translate that.
Thank you.
Can kind of transitioning with that thought is that is what sustains a private practice. Like a lot of people, it's really hard for people to sort of be fully sufficient as a Pilates instructor. It takes a lot of grind and hustle at the beginning. It takes a lot
Oh
of
my goodness. Yes, it does.
sleep deprived. Like I've been there, I've done that, but that in itself is just having that drive and knowing that if I'm investing in my own practice, I'm investing in other certifications, talking to other teachers, that pays itself back tenfold. And those are the teachers that will succeed, I think, having in terms of longevity in this career. If you're just sort of clocking in and clocking out, it's just kind of a job and you do like a class a week, and it's not going to be sustainable, and you're not going to have that long-term commitment of clients that you're looking for. Because I know that your clients, I'm sure, and my clients, I've seen clients for almost 10 years now. And I think it's because you continue their practice and you're able to take them one step further every year, because you're also deepening your understanding. So you make a connection
Absolutely.
with theirs. And it's just like symbiotic, kind of like fun experience in the studio where the more you know, the more you can give. And then the client gives you more and you can give them more. So what are
Pilates.
how did you kind of come to that? Um, yeah, where you are now, because I feel like you're very successful and you're fully independent. So what was the sort of the
Oh
um
my, it was very difficult initially. And I don't want people to have any illusions about, I get my certification and then I'm just going to build this client base. I'm sure that happens for some people, but for most, it is, like you said, it is a grind. I where I had my initial certification was a school here in Los Angeles called the Whole Body Method, and I was there for 3 years. I ended up becoming the lead educator of the mat portion of the program and student mentor. And that thought process was with me in the very beginnings of my career. And when I initially left, it was right after I'd started my Romanos Pilates journey, and I realized I needed to be in a true classical studio, not something that was kind of dabbling. I needed to change the space that I was in. And that meant almost completely starting from scratch. I had 3 people that followed me when I left. And for the first year, I worked 7 days a week. And some mornings I would get up at 4 a.m. because someone wanted to meet me at like 5:30 or 6. And there were moments where I was just like, oh my goodness, how is this sustainable? But because I was consistent with my practice, because I always led with education and continuing my education, my clients stayed. And then those clients started to refer people. And then those referrals referred. And it was a very, very slow build. But like your Pilates practice itself, It's something that you have to keep plugging away at. Your teaser might suck today, but if you work your system, if you commit every day, bit by bit by bit, one day you're in that full expression of that exercise. And I had been in business for myself for a full year, and I made my first year. And then COVID happened. And within a matter of weeks, I had this, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose everything. And you remember before that time, classical Pilates wasn't really done online, right? There were platforms like Pilatesology, and there would be a random kind of class every now and then, but we didn't do one-on-one instruction virtually. That just wasn't something we did. And the older generation teachers really frowned upon that. But when things locked down, I had a couple weeks of no work at all. And slowly my clients started to reach out and go, are you planning on doing virtual? And I was like, I guess we can try. And because of all the hours that I plugged in on Pilatesology, seeing teachers like Kathy Ross Nash just teach online and keep that voice going and have that dynamic. And of course, we're of a different generation. We spent more time on screens, and it's very different from, say, people that are, maybe Gen X or the boomer generation. I was able to translate my eye and my skills directly to online coaching. And that year, my business more than doubled. And because I was able to be there consistently for people, it gave me a reason to get up every day. In LA, we were locked down for over a full year. Like, we had some of the strictest lockdowns in the entire country. And having to show up for my clients every day and giving them some sense of a normal life or their normal schedule, it kept me together. And because I was able to show up for them, be consistent, get them strong, when things started to open back up, say I went into the lockdown with maybe 3 clients, I came out with a total of 10. And then when things opened back up, I ended up sharing a space with Sandy Shimoda for a little over a year. And my client base post lockdown just continued to grow and grow and grow. And because I had to develop my eye from being on camera and having to see the tiniest little shift in bodies in this kind of one-dimensional format, and I had to develop such strong verbal skills, when things opened back up and then I was able to put my hands on people again, it was just this aha moment of, oh my goodness, it's not just your hands, it's not your eye, it's not your words. You have to have all of those things as sharp as you can. And from there, it just continued to just grow and grow and grow. And yes, the lockdowns were very difficult, but because of what I experienced during that time, I was able to develop the confidence and the skills and the client base that is now taken me to where I am now. And I'm teaching anywhere from, my God, 35 to 48 hours a week.
Yeah,
My
that's
schedule
awesome.
is full. My schedule is full, and I'm referral only now. And now I'm on the other side of it and going, okay, where can I step back? This is a conversation too. And there are some teachers that maybe they have this, it's okay not to want to teach that much for the next few decades, right? I've been in several spaces where I've seen teachers that I really respect, but I see that they get kind of caught in this, well, this is what I've been doing forever. This is my only skill that I have. And that's not true. We as teachers, we as stewards of this work, we have options. And I'm at this phase in my career right now where I'm having to decide the energy that I'm putting into my day. Is it keeping me where I am, or am I allowing myself to have time to put into things that are going to take me where I want to go? And I have to just trust that on this whole journey, I've just followed what's exciting to me and what interests me. And right now, I'm really focused on developing training programs, mentorship, and working with teachers is the thing that lights me up the most. Helping them problem solve, talking about their clients, helping them see the little connections that they already see, but they don't trust themselves, and getting teachers to trust their gut reactions, to trust what they see, and to step back and again, think critically about the work. So I've been very fortunate in what I've been able to build in my personal business, but I think it's okay as teachers to step back and go, there are a lot, like when you're a dancer and you stop dancing, you can go into choreography, you can go into teaching. Some people go into costume making, some people go into set design. This skill set and this understanding of this work isn't just one thing. And there's so many other ways that we can be of assistance to our community and our clients and the people around us, that this skill set and the knowledge that we develop while we are practicing, it has so many facets and directions that we can go into. And I just want to put that out there to teachers to step back at some point and go, is this going in the direction that I want? And if it's not, it's okay to redirect and go, how else can I best use these skills and this knowledge? Because at the end of the day, burnout is a very real thing. And you have to do what you can to avoid that at all costs, not just for yourself, but that's when accidents start to happen in the studio. When we kind of start to phone it in, or it's like that eighth client of the day, the fifth day a week, we have to be really, really careful. I was just talking with my colleague, and her mentor is someone that comes from the previous generation, and he's always saying, you can't do more than 5 clients in one day. That's what Ramana said. And it's like, well, that would be great. But unfortunately, I live in 2025 and that's not sustainable. So it's really about finding a balance and finding a balance that keeps you in love with the work in a way that is healthy for you and safe for those around you.
Well, I love everything you just said. There's so much there. But I like agree completely and think it really just your whole kind of journey speaks. I think it goes really back to the importance on education, because if you build that foundation of knowledge, it doesn't matter what direction you want to go in, because you, like you said, in terms of COVID, like you were prepared, you had that understanding of the work. And if you had not had that, you wouldn't have had that space to then focus on the online business and how do I sharpen those skills, because you didn't even have the basic skills to then target the other skills you would need for like an online business. And that's also why I'm building this podcast, because like you said, I teach 40 hours a week and I struggled a lot with burnout. I didn't understand the importance of like, I teach 10 hours a day straight sometimes. And like,
Yeah.
it's a fucking hustle. And like, I'm not even going to pretend like it's glamorous at all, but because
Same.
it's not glamorous. Like it
It's
looks
not.
sexy and hot on Instagram. And like, let me tell you, it's not. Like, we're just like, I
No.
go to the bathroom sometimes to stare at the wall in between clients. But like, um,
That 5 or 10 minutes in between clients where you're just like, oh my God, I'm gonna shut the bathroom door so no one can talk to me, that I can just hold on to these few minutes of peace. Like I am right there with you.
like take some breaths and like,
It is. And that's the thing. And back to what I was saying, it's we as teachers, and especially in this time, the internet, social media, how we have so many more choices and tools at our disposal. And it's just like we have kind of benchmarks for progressing through the system, or, okay, my client can do this part of the work. Now I'm seeing that this is my next goal for them, my next goal for them. What are your goals for your career? What are you seeing for yourself? In the beginning, just like you, is like, oh my God, can I just build enough of a client base that I can pay my bills? When you get there, that's amazing, but it doesn't stop there. And we need to be constantly checking in with ourselves and going, okay, what is my goal? Is it to own a studio? Is it to mentor? What is my goal after I get to that bare minimum spot? Because the last thing, the worst thing is to see a teacher who is burnt out and is just phoning it in. And it is so disheartening when you see that. And it's avoidable. It is avoidable if you just step back and maybe apply the same critical thinking and planning to how you're approaching your work that you would in the studio space. We as teachers have so many skills that I think we kind of sell ourselves a little short. The organization, the planning, the creativity, the verbal skills, there's so much, and it can all be parlayed into something else that helps us avoid burnout, because it is the worst thing.
And it's uninspiring to your clients. It's uninspiring to you. And you're not going to have a fruitful client base if you're coming into the
No,
studio half checked out. Like I'm telling you right now, that you're not going to be successful in maintaining that client base because nobody wants to come after like an 8-hour day at work to a teacher who's like half present and sleepy. Like,
who's sitting down with their arms folded and just giving them a list, no hands on, no engagement.
like a robot.
It's
Like you might as well just do a YouTube video.
exactly. And I mean, seriously, and where AI is going, and now there's these reformers that have screens attached to them. We, as we have to step up and show up and really own the space that we're in. And we are going to be one of the last bastions in this world that hold out against that automation. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can put a video on and yes, you can be led through. But the most beautiful thing to me about our work is what I kind of fell in love with about dance initially is that I was taught by a person who put their hands on me, that spoke to me, that had their eyes on me. And everything that that person gave me happened. It's this distillation of 2 or 3 or 4 teachers that came before them, all the way back to Joe. The same hands-on cue that my teacher is giving me was given to them, was given to them, was given to them by Joe. Like it's this chain of experience and this chain of human interaction, which people are missing so much today. And this power of really being present in the moment. People come in and they've been in the radio, they've been on their phone, they're whatever, they're on their watches. But for 50 minutes, they have my undivided attention. And because I'm there with them, they are there with themselves. They are there in their own bodies. They're feeling their breath. They're feeling every little thing from their pinky finger to their pinky toe. And there's nothing more powerful and transformative than being present in the moment. And that's really what we're giving people. They are present in their bodies and they're changing. And then around that, yes, they're present, but we have the gift of hour by hour being completely present with these people. So at the end of the day, the days might be long, but I don't have days where I phone it in. And I honestly can't imagine going to work and watching the clock and being like, oh, 1 more hour, 3 more hours, 2 more hours. We are able to affect so much change only when we are completely present for them, but also for ourselves. And that's something to me that's just so magic about this work.
I was going to say that sort of to that last point that it's super important to have that self-awareness within yourself and that knowing within your own self, because I think if you don't have that awareness, you can't really be as aware. It sounds cheesy, but for your client, because if you're not even sure how you're feeling or doing, it's like, how are you supposed to having the capacity or space to give to that client what they need? Because I have been on the side of, oh, only 1 more hour. And that's when I do like exactly what you said. I need to step back and reflect. Okay, like I haven't had a day off. What needs to change?
Seriously, yes.
Like I need to live my fucking life. I need to go dancing. I need to remember that there's things that give me joy outside of just this. And like, like return to life, like Joe talks about the importance of just also having your own life. And
Yes.
this work gives us the ability and the agency to move freely and move without pain and like do other activities and fully live our best lives in and outside of the studio. And that's what we're doing for our clients. And if you're doing that and you come in radiating this energy, your clients leave, because I love seeing my clients leave like happier. They had a bad day.
Yes.
Exactly what you do. You give them an amazing session. You're in it. They're in it. It's just like this great, like undivided.
Symbiosis.
Yes. And
Yes.
they do something. It's like, oh my God, like you couldn't do that 2 weeks ago. And it's super exciting. And everybody just feels connected and better. And it's really beautiful that you said that. And I agree 100% with AI and the way technology is going. There's nothing more needed now than that deep connection of moving with people. For me, I love dance so much, not in terms of like, oh, this is my solo, but just that feeling of sweating and moving with people and just that like
Yeah.
dynamism and breath. And, like when teachers work out together and, you train, but like there's something so powerful about doing an advanced mat with a group of teachers or just anybody. It's just like everybody is in it,
Yes,
suffering, but you're like in it, you're sweating, you're doing the work, and you get through it. And it's just like the best feeling, you know?
it is. I mean, and how many times in your career, at the end of a lesson, or you're talking to a client and they say something like, "This is my favorite hour of the week," or "I look forward to this time all week." And knowing that people might not say that, some do, but we have to realize that it might be the 10th or ninth or 8th hour of our day, but this person has been looking forward to it all day. They planned their whole week around it. They planned their whole day around it. And um, there are some things that are just useless about what you did as a dancer and a performer when it comes to this work, but there are a lot of things that are very useful. You know, this ability to just like, all right, put myself down and be like, all right, showtime. I'm here for this person. No matter what was going on before, I'm able to just put it out of my mind and just be there for them.
And there's something powerful about that. No matter what's going on externally in your life, like life is life, we're all going to have different periods where things go wrong, and it has nothing to do with Pilates. But there is something so important of the ability to turn that off, leave
Yes.
it outside. And it's actually freeing because you're focusing on your client and you don't have to think about whatever going on. And then you can address that later. But that is a really important skill, I think, for not only protecting your peace, but also just protecting your relationship and business with your client, because you don't want to be that teacher who's like oversharing or moody, because that's not what the client, that hour is about.
No.
50 minutes is about them.
Yes. And you know, I was just thinking that I'm so glad you brought that up. It's um, for newer teachers as well. I try to impart on them right away that the dynamic that you create with your clients, it needs to be set up from the very beginning, right? You have to be careful of, they're talking about a show or they're asking questions about your weekend, or they come in and you are stretching them for 5 or 10 minutes. What you set up right away needs to be, I am a Pilates teacher. You are here for Pilates. I'm not your therapist. And because of how informal and friendly the environment and the dynamic can feel, there is a friendly exchange. But at the end of the day, they're there for a reason, and you paid whatever you paid to get your education, and you need to put that to use every day, because that's the only way you're going to get the most out of it. I see newer teachers getting kind of pressured into like, oh, well, can you just stretch me for a little while? Or I don't feel like doing this today. No, 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 no. You're not being paid enough to be a therapist. You're not a physical therapist. If they want to be stretched, go to Stretch Lab. They came to you for Pilates, and that is your scope of practice. There's a lot within that scope, but that is what you need to be steadfast in, is they're there for this service, and that's what you are providing.
Yeah, I like how you said that. I think there is a balance between that though, of yes, giving them Pilates, but like maybe, yeah, that those days, let's not do the hardest workout possible. Let's like hit,
Oh, goodness, no.
you know, beginner
That's the
mat,
great thing.
rolled out
That's the
back
great
ball.
thing about our work, right? Is I remember when I was in Bangkok, and I had done workshops, but I did quite a few privates. And in Asia, classical Pilates is really just breaking through. There's a lot of contemporary. There's like Stott and Merrithew, and there's a lot of that in there. But people's understanding of the depth and breadth of the traditional work is pretty limited. And there was a particular young lady who, she's a newer teacher. We had done a lesson, and she's athletic. So we did something that was challenging and really focused. But then the second lesson, I could tell she came in and she was tired. She was tired. I could just see it in her body. She came from work. So we did a really stretchy, slow, like spine corrector lesson. She still got some work, but it was slower and breath focused, and there was more kind of twisting and side bending, but it was still a traditional workout. And I remember at the end, she was like, I didn't know that Pilates could be like that. I thought it all had to be hard and fast, and it's like, it can be, but it has all these little aspects to it, and you can highlight one aspect of the workout, you can highlight another. And it's really about like you said before, really understanding your education, taking your lessons with teachers. I have and still have the extreme pleasure of being able to study with Trish Garland here in Los Angeles. And I remember one of the first times she took me through a spine corrector workout like that. I was having a hard day, but I had my lesson scheduled. I came in and she looked at me and was like, okay, come on over. And twisted me, stretched me, worked me, but met me where I was that day. And that's something that, again, this comes with time, but we as teachers, and like you said before, walking in, maybe not the hardest workout that day, but you can still give them something that they need that is, again, going to meet them where they are and not push them through anything that they can't really handle that day. Because, again, that's not serving them either.
Yeah, and it won't serve you in the long run because they're
No,
probably
not at
going
all.
to come back. I love that you said that. That's really beautiful. I need to wrap up in a little bit, but kind of on closing. So what are the kind of some things that you have coming up? You've built this sort of amazing Pilates career, and I love your energy, and I feel like you have such a wealth of knowledge for everybody. So thank you so much for your time.
Of
But
course. Happy
yeah,
to. Thank you.
let me know like what are some things that are kind of on the horizon for you?
Oh my goodness. I'm a crazy person. So I am always just heaping more onto my plate. But again, I lead with what lights me up and what excites me. So currently, I am mentoring um, new male teachers here in LA every Sunday. It's a small group now, but it's a smaller portion of our community that isn't really being kind of addressed directly. And I had the pleasure of being mentored by Moses Urbano early in my career. And I will never forget him just going, guys need different things. It's okay to give guys different things. And he gave me his time freely. And all he told me was, he said, at some point, you're going to be in a position to do this for others. And I was like, I'm never going to, no one's going to. But here I am. And I hear his voice every day just going, pay it forward, keep giving back. So that's something I'm very passionate about right now. I have more coming up on Pilatesology. I have the first of its kind mentorship program that I'm launching in Bangkok in July. It's 2 full weeks, 3 workouts a day, starting with corrective pre-Pilates exercises and then building those through the basic system, through the mat, through the reformer. And again, really circling back around to critical thinking, workout design, and how to get past just lists. I am, my goodness, what else? I am right now working with a contemporary studio in North Hollywood. And Ron Fletcher opened the first Pilates studio here on the West Coast. And he was the father of all things kind of considered contemporary Pilates. He was the first to do bar work. He was the first to kind of move Pilates away from just the kind of ordered system and go, okay, maybe not focus on the mat, focus on the order. What if I just build a gorgeous body? And there's a place for that too. And that's really one of the reasons I love the Fletcher work. It's the first introduction to Pilates I had. But I wanted to be able to meet teachers that weren't just classical. I've been in so many situations in which classical teachers are talking with someone from a contemporary background. Sorry for the helicopter. And they can't answer their questions. They can't meet them where they are. And I never wanted to be that teacher. So because of my Fletcher background, I'm able to really connect with teachers that have varied education backgrounds. And right now, there's a studio in North Hollywood that I'm helping them develop a contemporary mat program. And what I'm seeing is classical work's not for everyone. And especially if it's you are having a hard time finding a qualified teacher. But on the other side of that, there is this prevalence of like this burnout fitness Pilates. And it has its place, but because there's no hierarchical or like pedagogical process of layering and difficulty and complexity, you see people just throwing crazy things in to make things harder. I'm going to throw a band. I'm going to have a 20-pound dumbbell. There's boxes everywhere for some reason.
Kettlebell, like whatever.
Kettlebell. I know, it's bananas.
Crazy.
So what I am doing right now is working with the studio, working with my apprentice, Justin, And we are looking at designing and creating, bringing a contemporary Pilates style back to Los Angeles, and creating it and designing in a way that honors the traditional roots, that has a strong technical and layering foundation, so that teachers who love the way that this type of movement makes them feel, but maybe don't have access or the means to get into a classical training program or find a qualified classical teacher, that there's still a way that they can get into this work that is safe, nuanced, and can maybe be parlayed into a teaching career. So I'm doing that right now as well. I'm doing workshops at Hummingbird Pilates. I'm going to be in Manila teaching a week of workshops there. And I've taken a little bit of a pause on my social media work, but I'm jumping back in this weekend. And I'm doing a complete rebrand of how my content and my media looks, and changing my focus to, before I was just throwing things on the wall and just what stuck, doing more of that, but it always felt more performative because I was trying to get eyes on me. I've got the eyes on me now, and now I'm
It's like
trying to take a step back.
intentionality. You want to be in, you sounds like you're just in an era of intentionality and
Absolutely. So now all of my content is going to be more education driven. Yes, I'm still going to be demoing and showing things in my body, but now I have students and apprentices around me that I can now show the work on, explain things about the classical system, explain things about the Fletcher work. Because again, it's so little is known about it. People just know that there's like a red towel and they kind of breathe loudly, but it's a beautiful body of work that has a connection to this lineage. And like Kathy Grant's work, like Romana's work, Ron's work, Eve Gentry's work, initially they had a lot of things that made them different. But the further away we get from Joe, the more those lineages have in common. And the closer they are to Joe's work than a lot of what's being seen out there right now. So really, my goal over this next 5 to 10 year period is to learn as much as I can about what all of these different elders left us, and trying to get the Pilates community as a whole to see that there's value in all of those lineages. And they all worked with Joe. And by getting into their work, it's like looking into the same house just through different windows. I don't want to just see the living room. I want to see the kitchen. I want to see the upstairs bedroom. I want to see everything, so that when I get to describe this house to somebody, I have the most multifaceted experience and explanation that I can provide. Because the more information you have, the more experience you have, the better you're going to be equipped to explain this work to somebody in a meaningful way and be able to meet them where they are.
wow. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to see what you do. I have no doubt that you'll be able to bring all of that to fruition. This was a really nice conversation and super, I feel like there's a lot in here and I'm really excited for people to hear it. Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much. I appreciate you reaching out to me. It's funny, you're just in your little corner doing your work. And when someone acknowledges like, oh, I've seen you do this thing, or I'd love to be a part of what you're doing, you're like, oh, wow. Okay. People see me. What I'm doing kind of matters a little bit. And like you are doing, if you can help people and give them more information and make them curious or maybe make new connections, that's really what it's all about. So thank you very much for having me today, and having the kind of forethought to create this space for professionals to have this dialogue. I think it's really important work.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. I really
Hey,
appreciate
you too.
it.
Thank
Bye.
you.